that all of a sudden they're worried about because they're trying to be environmentally friendly?
Not to mention, I just read this weekend. You know, our president's real big on prosecuting leaks, right? You know, he hates a leak. Mm-hmm. Oh, he can't stand it. Oddly enough, though, he's let it slip about Israel's own nuclear program that they have. Now, do you think that was just a little slip of the tongue, or maybe the president's trying to say, well, if Israel can have them, then I think Iran could have them?
Well, that's exactly
I'm more
what
inclined to think that it's the latter.
Look, there's every indication is out there that Barack Obama is a self-centered, thin-skinned narcissist.
Yeah.
When it really comes down to this isn't even about Iran. He is mad at Benjamin Netanyahu. He is angry with Republicans in Congress that dared to suggest that the co-equal branch of government would have a say.
Or that there even is a co-equal branch of government.
Yeah. So this has more to do with, Obama has nothing that he can leave as a legacy. Because as soon as, Republicans who can grow a pair can get it through Congress, Obamacare is going to be dismantled or changed.
Well, it will not stay as it is written, provided, like you said, that it's not just Republicans, provided we get politicians that, A, can read, B, that will read, and C, that genuinely have the interests of their constituents at heart.
And see,
I've heard a lot of people.
Obama can't point to a whole bunch of legislation that he signed into law because Harry Reid blocked so much legislation from even proceeding to the president's desk so that he wouldn't have to exercise veto power and make himself look bad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there has been such a Democratic stifling.
Yeah, but remember, it's the Republicans that are the party of no. It's the Republicans' fault that nothing has gotten done. It wouldn't have anything to do with Harry Reid blocking all that legislation. Casey, now you know better than that.
Yeah, I know. I just like to, be a rock thrower and all that. But
it does make a person want to ask, or at least this person anyway. Okay, because I've heard a million times over the past few weeks. Man, that's the Middle East. It's always been messed up. Man, that ain't got nothing to do with us. I could care less. Mm-hmm. All right. First of all, that is a really ignorant attitude to have. But surely it would at least make the people in this country go, why would the President of the United States be so fired up and willing to aid a country that calls for America's death? I mean, is this about his legacy? Is that what it is? Is he actually trying to be the one that brokers peace in the Middle East by giving a non-nuclear weapon-having country nuclear weapon capabilities? Is that the legacy he wants? Or,
could it
be that he's getting something out of this, maybe?
Or could it be that he really just doesn't like
the United States?
Well, no, I think he likes the United States just
really?
Fine. Yeah, the parts that are in Washington, D.C.
and Hawaii.
In his old neighborhood in Chicago,
mm-hmm.
in Hawaii, and in New York City. I think he likes those parts of the United States just fine.
I'm sorry.
But he hates Indiana.
I'm sorry. I don't think the president gives a darn about even those people or that part of the country, unless you're talking about just straight up geography, like maybe they're nice to live in.
Well,
but the thing is he has
really,
a general a genuine disdain for the American people.
Well, I mean, not to go chasing a rabbit, but he seems to like people who work for Halliburton, which is really strange.
Well, seeing as how he spent George Bush's entire presidency blaming Halliburton for the Iraq the Iraq invasion.
See, what it is, the parts of the United States that Barack Obama really likes are the deep-pocketed parts of the United States who will donate to whatever cause he really wants donated to.
And who are heavily populated by Democrats.
Mm-hmm. So he's really fond of certain places on the West Coast. I imagine he loves parts of Seattle, where they bump the minimum wage up to $15 an hour, and of course, now restaurants are going out of business and all that. But there are parts of the United States that he likes, but he just doesn't like places like South Dakota, Montana, Alabama,
and again,
Georgia,
you still have to
Mississippi.
ask, why would the President of the United States sell out his own country to Iran? And before anybody says, man, you can't say that he's doing that, where's the proof? Well, okay, like hard concrete proof, it hasn't shown up yet. But maybe, it might be a good indication when a very high-ranking Iranian delegate who is there at the negotiations defects in the middle of the negotiations and says, look, I'm defecting to the West. I would really like some asylum here in Switzerland because I'm really afraid that if I go back to my home nation after saying this, that I will never see the light of day again. Now, look, for a person like the person that defected, by the way, was the Iranian equivalent of Josh Earnest, our president's press secretary. That's what this guy was for Iran's president. Even he said he can't, in good conscience, continue, on the road that he's on. And one of the things that he had to say, he said, I defect. And right after that, oh, by the way, everything that the Obama administration is doing is on behalf of Iran. Why would our president be negotiating for their president? And when you have the entire U.S. Senate voting 100-0 in
That's, by
favor,
the way, for those of you who may not know, we only have 100 senators.
right? The entire U.S. Senate agreed that we must adhere to the sanctions that have been imposed on Iran, that we must keep them from gaining nuclear capabilities. I'm talking about the U.S. Senate. With Republicans,
we couldn't get them to agree on nothing.
You can't get them to agree whether it's daytime or not. But even they could come together on that one thing and say, no, we must honor those sanctions. That's their way of trying to tell the president, look, I don't care how much you negotiate. I don't care what you promise these people. We're not lifting the sanctions. Now, of course, the president said, well, maybe we need to push this deadline back till June. We probably need to, got to give John Kerry some time to nuance.
Well, nuancing is a difficult process, Marty.
Well, it must be, because it's made him look like a great big old botard.
Well, this is John Kerry we're talking about.
Then you had a rabbi last week. This particular rabbi, he's made a few appearances on Glenn Beck. That might be where some people have seen him. I think you pronounce his name Shlomo Riskin is his name, and he compared. he went biblical, and more or less was comparing our president to one of the Bible's
biggest villains.
Yeah,
Haman from the book of Esther, who tried to eradicate the Jews from, was it Persia?
I don't know.
I mean, or Babylon? Who would Nebuchadnezzar?
Either way, it caused a big old stink. And let's look at some things logically here. Let's at least look at this logically, because there's people who are screaming, that's not even fair and it's absurd. It's an outrageous comparison. The president.
Really?
Why? Because they get. There's tons of people. That say our president is a Muslim anyway. Look, I don't know if he is, and I don't care. But I will say that, let's see, he grew up being educated. His, like where you and I, we went to an elementary school, public school system, and then we went on to high school. He got his early education in madrasas.
And Marty,
Huh?
what is a madrasa?
Well,
Now
a
that you
madrasa is
mention
an
it.
Islamic school that it teaches Islam. You learn you learn the way of Islam.
No, wait. You mean they have one class a day in Islam, and the rest they spend in science and math and history?
No.
And
Well, I'm sure they do learn math and history and everything too, but for the most part, what they learn is that we're Muslims and we hate Jews. It's just that simple. You do not grow up in that environment. And when he left there and went to Kenya, okay, all of the people around him referred to the United States as the imperialist nation. We are, colonialists. We're imperialists. We are nothing but a nation that wants to walk in and take over everybody else's nation. That's how he was educated. When he was sent, to college, his mentor. Remember, we've talked about this guy.
yeah, but at the same time, I mean, come on, man. He was high most of that time, once he got to Hawaii and
He
stuff.
was high hating the Jews. He can say whatever he wants to, but his actions speak so much louder. Do you think that it's really just a plain old I don't like Benjamin Netanyahu thing? Really?
Well, no, I mean, honestly,
I'm sure he doesn't. But do you think that's the beginning and end of it?
no, he's an anti-Semite. And why is he an anti-Semite? Because he was raised in a madrasa.
Mm-hmm.
All his growing up, young life, in between times when he was eating dogs and stuff.
Right. The
he
rest of that
being-
time was spent
he
hating
was
the
being
Jew.
told that Jews were dirty and filthy and mean and responsible
The
for
root
all the
of all evil
in the world.
Yep.
Not just the Middle East, but the world.
in the whole world.
So,
And that, again, man, that's something that before the man was ever elected, the first time, I remember vividly telling people before the election, have you read his book? Have you read his own autobiography? Have you heard on Audible him reading his own words? All of his feelings towards the white race, what it was like growing up in madrasas. He pays much respect to the Muslim community, almost to the point to where it's like overcompensating at times. There's been times where he has foregone, like a Christian prayer service so that he could attend Muslim prayers. These are not the actions of somebody who just happens to, he just happened to have grown up here. He just happens to have went to this school. No, his actions show that this is how he really feels.
they formed his opinions.
So, guys, you can look at the Middle East and think it doesn't have anything to do with you if you want to.
But then I would invite you to go look at the Marine Corps hymn.
You
From the
talking about
halls
maybe
of-
Tripoli?
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. Why is Tripoli mentioned? It's because of the Barbary pirates in Libya Tripoli, Libya, who were capturing